Beginning the episode, we see Jazz, Danny's sister, trying to tutor Dash, the school quarterback. Yeah, that wasn't going so well. He wasn't paying attention at all. Danny was leaning against a counter with a smug look because he told her that would happen earlier, and that Dash was untutorable. Getting frustrated, Jazz pointed the eraser end of her pencil at Danny, telling him to shut it, even though he hadn't said anything to them. Shrugging, Danny then leaves them to it, and walks downstairs to the lab with a drink in his hand. Dash then inviting Jazz to his party that upcoming Saturday. Jazz says that she'll go on one condition. We then cut back to Danny down in the lab looking around, seeing the mess around there. Jack excitedly showing him the newest invention called the ghost weasel. It was after telling him more about it, Danny mentions that it sounds like the thermos in vacuum form. Jack mentions that he never thought of it like that, but turned it on, causing it to inhale a bunch of papers and the thermos, getting it lodged. After trying to pull it out, he sighed and says that he'd get the fentanyl unlodger and runs off, while Danny just pushes the reverse button on the weasel, making it shoot the thermos out at the ghost portal and turning it on again. A ghost in a white lab coat with crazy hair says that he was freed and called himself Technus, the ghost master of electrical technology. Danny offhandedly asked if he'd ever met a guy named Skulker, but Technus says that he has no idea who that is. While looking around and liking what he was seeing, deciding for himself that he was going to use the technology in the lab without Danny's offhanded remark about doing so like in the show. The two begin to fight, and Technus swings an electric rod at Danny, zapping him and knocking him back in the process. Getting annoyed, Danny uses the ghost weasel to try to capture Technus, accidentally making it inhale a bunch of other stuff that shouldn't be in there, causing it to explode and launch ectoplasm everywhere. Jack calls out that he was coming back, and Danny bails, phasing through the ceiling, and Jack literally didn't even notice the mess around him had worsened. We then cut to later on at the Nasty Burger, as Sam was suggesting the amusement park, but Tucker told her that it was out of his reach due to how expensive it was, with Danny suggesting that virtual tour for the plumber space. It's free, and they'd get to check out species from other planets, as well as their technology. They see Dash passing out invitations for his party on Saturday, but mostly ignore them, with his friends saying that the virtual tour actually sounded pretty cool. Dash then slaps an invitation to his party in Danny's face, telling him that his sister made him invite them, though he looks disinterested about having the invitation. Danny says he'll show Jazz he's got the invite, but that doesn't mean he has to go, and then gets right back to chatting with his friend. Growing annoyed that Fenton of all people was basically blowing him off, Dash grabs them by the shirt to threaten them about blowing him off like that, but Danny just warns that he really doesn't want to start this today. The football star says that he thinks he does, but Danny's eyes flash green in annoyance, as we then see Dash screaming as he was flying through the air and crashed into a booth on the other side of the building. Danny says that they should get going, and his friends agree, getting up to leave as well. The next day, Dash walks up telling Danny he has to look the part if he's coming to his party, but Danny reminds him that he's not, handing him back the magazine article for the admittedly really stupid looking outfit. Danny does still have the garage sale like in the show, except for the key difference of his parents asking him to basically clear it all out to make room for some new stuff and sell the old stuff so they didn't have to haul it off. This also meant that Jazz, Maddie, and Jack are also helping with the sale, making it move faster. While on their way to the plumber's recruitment building, Danny's ghost sense goes off and he sighed in annoyance, telling the others that he'd catch up. He's got a ghost problem to deal with. With a nod, the two continue onwards to get a spot in line, leaving Danny to fight the ghost. He's actually attacked by a possessed razor that nearly takes his head off, and manages to break it. Then sees a bunch of technology floating around above him. Sighing, Danny sarcastically says it's Attack of the Killer garage sale before flying off, following the tech to see what's going on. The technology begins to compile itself together into a mechanical body and speaks, calling itself Technus, master of all things mechanical, but starts to glitch out, and we see them notice an upgrade disc. going for it, but Danny punches them in the side of the head with his hands glowing. Using the dryer bit and a claw on a cable. Technus then grabs Danny and pulls them into their suits, spinning him around before spitting him out, making him crash into an electrical pole, which caused Dash's house to lose power along with a few other houses in the area. Danny tries to stop them from getting the disc, but was too late. They'd already upgraded themselves. Danny and Technus continue fighting. He began slamming his glowing fist into the armor, which did manage to crack it, but wasn't doing the same damage it had been earlier. The ghost laughed at Danny before smacking him into the ground and launched the grappling line again, but Danny grabbed it and shoved the line into their disc tray, making Technus zap himself in the process and making the robotic body go haywire. Going for the Fenton thermos, Danny mentions that he's glad he started carrying that thing around with him, then began to charge it up, blasting the machine body with it. Technus was ripped from the technology and forced into the thermos, being captured inside with Danny putting the cap on. They're glad that was over, the mechanical body falling apart as he did so. After catching back up with his friends, Danny changed back where no one could notice, and they were allowed to take the virtual tour with a galvanic mechamorph acting as their tour guide, which really excited Tucker because, he's the techno geek and there's living technology in front of him. Danny just shrugged and apologized for his friend's behavior, and the tour continued from there.